Hello everyone and welcome to another Keyfactor tutorial. I'm Sven Ryla and today I've got again with me
Tanmay.
and he's our EJBCA developer who focuses a lot on the Kubernetes side with the container and Helm charts. And today we want to go through the Helm parameters, kind of dissecting the values.yaml file, looking at how things are organized in there and maybe drop a few hints of what's coming with some features. Oh, another diagram of what's going on here. So Tamoy,
Yeah.
explain this to me.
So this is where we are trying to show how a EJBCA CA installation might look like with one single Helm install or Helm release. So you have two EJBCA instances communicating with a replicated database, and the HSMs are also replicated in a clustered setup. We provide this P11ng sidecar to communicate with the HSMs, and more support on this HSM will be coming soon. And the TLS credentials are placed in this Nginx or Apache HTTP sidecar. You can configure the cluster external access with load balancer on ingress. So a lot of moving parts. We don't want to basically go through this giant values YAML file and find out where everything is. Instead of that, we want to provide you guys a rule of thumb, a simplified setup. So let's consider a single replica might look like. So the EJBCA container itself, so how to configure it, the P11ng sidecar, so how to communicate with the HSM, the TLS credentials, which are of course going in this Nginx or Apache sidecar, the load balancer or the external access. So once you have figured out how cluster internal access is looking like, then you are going through the external access. And then finally the miscellaneous parameters, so for an example, horizontal port auto scaling or some further security with file access rules or the network policies where this stuff can go. So let's jump into it perhaps. First, the giant frog. So the EJBCA container itself, it has lot of parameters, but let's focus on the important ones. So once again, it's just another web application. So when you are using your web application which you guys have developed, you guys might have been providing these database URLs, the username as environment variables already. EJBCA also does the same thing, and the database password itself is coming from a secret,
Which we could also wrap in with like a vault service or whatever secret management you want to use to put in there too. So we're not limited to just Kubernetes secrets, but we have Kubernetes secret here by default just to start using and play with. But we do have support for the other pieces too.
Yeah. If you want more support to make the things more secure, please reach out to us. We are happy to consider the feature requests. And then like few other things, for an example, signed audit log or log audit to DB. You can enable it from this EJBCA block itself with this environment parameter. For the signed audit log, which is an enterprise feature, of course, you need a cryptographic key. You can configure that from this EJBCA configuration files using this import EJBCA conf files or this file secret. So there are a lot of things in there. So these are the important things. But the one thing to keep in mind, if you're trying to configure EJBCA itself, look into the EJBCA block and then have a look into the documentation. If there's a convenient environment variable for you, then go through that route. Otherwise, just let us know. We are happy to help you guys. Now the HSM sidecar. Of course, right now the slide looks like really heavy. I mean, a lot of things going on. But don't worry about it. We have things documented. In this diagram, we are just showing you how to talk to a Luna HSM. So in Luna HSM, you, of course, or any network address HSM, you need to know the IP address or the host name for this HSM. That's where it is going in the server name. And then at least for Luna, you need to configure client credentials, which comes in form of TLS credentials, so for example, private key and certificates. So these things you need to put it in secrets on the config map and like provide it to EJBCA. So in future, we will make it much more friendly with better
templates, right? We'll have templates to smooth out the experience so it's a lot more streamlined, whether you're on the Talus, Luna, the Udamako, the Encipher, and all the other ones we've got in the pipe that are supposed to be coming.
Yes. So at least for now, please just look into the documentation
All right, we're getting into proxy configuration. So this is where we're going to terminate TLS in the container, I take it. So what do
Yes.
we got with our settings here?
We have two choices for you guys, the Nginx and Apache HTTPD. Given that these two are the more popular ones, both have similar structure. Just say enabled equal to true and you have one of these. You can set the TLS credentials in here too, and just set the TLS credentials like the private key, the TLS certificate, and the
And
trusted CS certificate.
yes, the CA chain
Yeah.
too.
In the secret, and just provide the secret name to in the Helm chart, and you are good to go for both of these things. This is where the internal access has been taken care of, this Nginx and HTTP. But how about the cluster external access? That is where we are recommending network load balancers. So just say services type load balancer and you are good to go. It should be noted as of this moment, so we are shooting this video in 9.2. All the EJBCA services, so for an example, REST API or the protocols like EST, ACME, everything is highly available. So you get two or more EJBCA instances, load is distributed across all of this. But the UI itself is unfortunately is
It's
not like,
improving. We've
yes.
got a good feature coming for that.
Yeah. For that one, you unfortunately need some sticky session. So you can like with one parameter in the service, you can enable sticky sessions. So please just keep in mind that that's like one of the
It's
small
coming,
things. Yeah. If you do not like load balancer or like it is not supported in your cluster, you kind of need to go in the route of ingress.
which does require some annotation snippets.
With ingress, one of the huge catch is that the communication between this ingress container and in the to the EJBCA will be in plain HTTP.
Right.
But but it will be inside your cluster, so hopefully you are okay. So what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, if you do need end-to-end TLS, you got to go back to our previous slide there with the load balancer setup and the TLS termination in pod with the Nginx or HTTPD. That's your best bet if you need end-to-end encryption like that for the connections coming inbound to EJBCA. And that's why we also had recommended on the slide too. This is kind of an older way we had to go in there before we evolved the Helm chart to be where we want it to be going in that direction. All right, some auto scaling time.
So finally, one of the really awaited feature in the EJBCA which is not available in all other counterparts of EJBCA, for an example, appliance or like SaaS deployment. So you can just easily enable auto scaling with just once more enable equal to true with the replicas. And please keep in mind that we are showing you an example where we are doing an auto scaling with memory, but you can do the same thing with CPU too. The notations and everything is the same as what Kubernetes recommends, but we just provide a little bit convenient template on top of it.
And we also did a YouTube live on this
Yes.
last month, or actually I think it was December, a couple months ago, with Mike Kushner and I, where we demonstrated doing the auto scaling with the Helm chart to show how cool this works.
Another small thing to note over here is that we actually are ignoring the sidecars. We are just focusing on the EJBCS memory and the CPU consumption. So you get a proper auto
That's a
scaling.
good point.
Yeah.
So now we're getting into some file security and runtime settings. What do we got on this slide, Tanmoy?
At the end of the day, you want some security measures, of course, at the Helm deployment level, and you can have this security for both file systems or like the runtime with making sure the EJBC is running as a known root inside your nodes. And furthermore, for network segmentation front, so for an example, this EJBC peer, where this RS and VS are reachable from this public internet. On the other hand, CA is like sitting behind something so that it is only reachable from this corporate network. That kind of thing you can design with network policies. We are just using Kubernetes own network policies, but you can use our Helm chart to deploy it. So after you have designed your network, like from which namespaces this EJBCA should be reachable, for an example, RA should be reachable from this EJBCA CS namespace, or maybe possibly you are using some automation with a REST API so that your application is talking to the EJBCA RA. That kind of design is already taken care of. Then you can do the whole thing from the Helm chart deployment itself. You do not have to take care of any other
I
possible.
think that's going to be a separate video we do demonstrating that. That's a pretty cool feature.
Yes, please tune into the videos, and hopefully that will be also like linked bottom of this video.
And that wraps up going through the values of the Helm chart and some of the important parts we wanted you to know about in there. Leave us a comment or ask us a question for the tutorial, and we'll look forward to seeing you in the next tutorial. Take care.
Bye.